Of the 4 items listed in the Gemara Brachot Daf Chof Dalad to be deemed an erva, however we are going to interpret this term erva, is a position authored by Shmuel, who, amongst the many Tanaim and Amoraim of the Gemara, is someone whose halachic rulings carry a great deal of weight, as he, along with Rav, were amongst the founders of the Babylonian community of the post-Tanaic period. And Shmuel writes that Kol Be'isha Erva, that the voice of a woman meets the test of Erva. What exactly is meant with the term Kol Be'isha, whether it applies to conversation, whether it applies to singing, whether it applies to erotic singing, is a matter of contention and a point of departure amongst many of the branches within Orthodoxy. Similarly, one can question whether or not the restriction is limited to live singing, or do we broaden Kol Be'isha to include the voice transmitted through a microphone, from the radio, or an MP3 soundbite? Well, generally in Chutz La'aretz, most of the Orthodox organizations have made their peace with this restriction in one way or another. In Israel, it is very much a bone of contention when the principles of religion and state cross paths. There are Mefarshim who read into the Tupim and Mecholot of Miriam a textual basis for the halacha of Shmuel that Kol Be'isha Erva. These Mefarshim argue that the purpose of the Tupim was to circumvent the Kol Be'isha Erva issue and thereby allow the women to express their thanks alongside the men following the miracles of Kriyat Yamsuf. And these Mefarshim argue it is for this reason that Miriam had the women accompany their singing with Tupim so as not to violate the halacha of Kol Be'isha Erva. On this basis, Miriam would meet the test of a Navi. Not only did she verbalize and proclaim words of rebuke and guidance, she herself implemented those words with demanding that the women take their tupim with them as they participate in their Shirat Hayam. This line of thinking is rejected by the Rebbe in a rather lengthy footnote, footnote number 20, on the basis that there is nothing in the text up until this point in time of any prohibitions against Kol Be'isha. At best, we can say that there is a hint to the halacha of Kol Be'isha Erva with the fact that there were the Tupim. Rashi, however, is limited to the Pshuta Shel Mikra, and from the Pshuta Shel Mikra there is no evidence in the text to link the Tupim with the Kol Be'isha Erva, and thereby justifying the Neviah descriptive for Miriam. In fact, Rashi appears to move in a very different direction in his explanation and commentary to the Tupim. Rashi borrows from the Mechilta that Muvtachot hayu tzidkaniot shebador. It was a righteous generation that left Egypt. They were Muvtachot. They were certain shehakadosh Baruch Hu oseh lahem nisim, that at some point in time in the future, Kadosh Baruch Hu would facilitate for them miraculous events. They would wish to express their gratitude, and therefore, on the basis of their trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu and wishing to enhance their expressions of joy when these miracles would eventuate, they took along the Tupim out of Egypt for that purpose. So we see that from Rashi, the Tupim from the very outset did not function as a workaround to circumvent the Erva problems associated with Kol Be'isha. For had that been the case, this is the explanation that Rashi should have provided in explaining the existence of Tupim in the middle of a desert. Which brings us back to the original question: on what basis does the text refer to Miriam as being a Neviah? We have discounted the Shira option, that she was aware of matters that were hidden from the population at large. We have also discounted the Tupim argument, in which she enforced the restrictions against Kol Be'isha, and therefore Rashi must now look for an alternative reason for the inclusion of the descriptive Hanaviyah with respect to Miriam.